If there's one person in the UFC who has the most exciting fights, it's definitely Micahel Chandler. With a 2-3 octagon record, he might need to fix his strategy. According to Matt Brown, at least. Let's see what he thinks. Matt Brown thinks Chandler chooses to be Gatti when he could be Mayweather. When Chandler first signed as a free agent after a pretty awesome career in Bellator MMA, he was laser focused on one thing and one thing only: winning a UFC title. And why? Well, that's obvious. So he could finally cement his legacy as one of the greatest lightweights of all time in mixed martial arts history. Ever since he made that decision, Chandler's racked up 4 post-fight bonuses out of 5 appearances within the UFC. On the other hand, he also sports a surprising 2-3 octagon record. All 3 losses came against fighters who are now sitting ahead of Chandler in the rankings. Despite that, UFC welterweight Matt Brown has some pretty high hopes for Micahel Chandler. And he knows a thing or two about the expectations that follow a reputation for fan-friendly fights. But that always comes at a cost, as Chandler has recently discovered. In a recent interview on MMA Fighting's The Fighter vs. The Writer, Brown shared his own 2 cents on what he thought about Chandler. According to him, the problem with Chandler is his strategy. In his own words, he needs to fix his strategy, which is a pretty interesting and very relevant point. He gave an example of his own fighting style too. Brown shared that his strategy for beating guys was that he tried to wear them out and make it a really tough fight for them. In his own words, it's kind of a Dustin Poirier kind of thing. That is, we go in, we make it dirty, we make it grimy, and guys get worn out and overwhelmed by it. But Micahel Chandler doesn't have to do any of that. So while Matt Brown likes to overwhelm and wear out his opponents, the fighter thinks that Micahel Chandler doesn't need to do any of that. In his opinion, there are 2 different ways of fighting. 1, fighting for his fans, and 2, fighting for yourself to win. Matt Brown might prefer the second, but Micahel Chandler should probably go for the first. Considering his pedigree in wrestling and a potent ground and pound game, Chandler has already shown total dominance over opponents in many past fights without even engaging in back-and-forth wars. Of course, Chandler's been in plenty of battles too, which, by the way, includes all 5 fights in the UFC, and that even led to the UFC president Dana White comparing him to the boxer Arturo Gatti, whose career was literally defined by putting on jaw-dropping, action-packed wars. But Matt Brown also thinks otherwise. That is, Matt Brown thinks Micahel Chandler should try to be more like Floyd Mayweather. Okay, Brown definitely understands why Michael's being compared to Arturo Gatti. It makes sense. But as a longtime boxing enthusiast himself, he also remembers that Gatti was kind of a slugger, who not only could absorb a tremendous amount of punishment, but he could also face tremendous odds when going up against the best of the best throughout his entire career. A pretty good example of this is from back in 2005, when Gatti went against the 28-year-old Floyd Mayweather himself, and Mayweather handed him an absolutely savage beating while outlanding Gatti 168-41 en route to a merciful 6th-round stoppage once the towel was finally thrown in by Gatti's corner. In Matt's own words, Floyd pieced him up easily, and that's exactly it. Gatti never developed those skills. And that's exactly what the difference between Chandler and Gatti is. He needs to stop winging it. It doesn't mean he'll lose every time, otherwise it works for him. But what he's doing, according to Matt, is that he's playing their game. And he also thinks that it might cut down his chances to become a UFC champion. I'll leave it at this. In Matt Brown's own words, what do we remember Gatti for? The wars. What do we remember Mayweather for? Not any wars. We remember him for piecing people up. The bottom line is, Micahel Chandler could be Arturo Gatti. But if he tried to be Floyd Mayweather instead, he'd be on the right track for UFC champion. Anyway, I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard that there might be a McGregor vs. Chandler fight happening somewhere in the near future. But are the rumors true? Let's find out. Here's everything we know about the McGregor vs. Chandler fight. First up, the McGregor vs. Chandler fight might not even happen. Dana White loves to make headlines, and when news outlets start to twist his words to get clout, he makes sure they know it. And apparently he says he never said that a McGregor vs. Chandler fight could ever happen. Okay, let's go back to the beginning for a second. It all started when the ESPN producer Charlie Moynihan tweeted that the Notorious's next fight might actually be against Micahel Chandler. By the way, you should keep in mind that ESPN is the UFC's trusted broadcast partner, so they're usually pretty solid when it comes to this kind of thing. Which is exactly why everyone started running this story. But that really ticked off Dana White, like really. In an interview with MMAmania.com's Alex Bahunin at the UFC 282 post-fight press conference, White said, "I never said that ever once." And this is what happens when you do interviews and people listen to your interviews.
Trying to do Conor McGregor versus Micahel Chandler?
I never said that ever once. This is what happens when you do interviews and people listen to your interviews, and you said, so if Conor McGregor came back right now, who would you be looking at as an opponent? Well, I said, well, if he did, if that happened and that scenario played out right now, Chandler would be a fun fight. Never once did I say we're doing Conor McGregor versus Chandler. I don't even know when Conor McGregor's coming back. And this is why I don't like to answer these kind of questions. Because it somewhere on the internet puts out that that's what I said, and it's not even remotely close to what I said. People write stories off of interviews with other people when they couldn't even ask proper questions.
Yikes. Apparently he was asked if Conor McGregor came back right now, who would he be looking at as an opponent? And in that hypothetical situation, Chandler would be a fun fight. But he never said it was going to actually happen. In fact, he didn't even know when Conor would be coming back. And so it looks like there isn't going to be any Conor versus McGregor fight happening anytime soon. Still, that being said, it doesn't mean that one's not going to be happening, especially considering Chandler called him out once too. When Micahel Chandler called out Conor McGregor. Now, Micahel Chandler made his UFC debut without many people knowing exactly who he was. That fight even finished with a technical knockout in the first round. And when it was over, Chandler made sure to call out each and every lightweight contender, including Conor McGregor at UFC 257 in 2021, as a message to the rest of the lightweight division. Also, after Chandler took down Tony Ferguson at UFC 274, he wasted zero time calling the MMA star out.
I got one dude on my mind, Conor McGregor! You gotta come back and fight somebody! I am the most entertaining lightweight on the planet! But I want to up the stakes, Conor. I want you at your biggest, I want you at your baddest, and I want you at your best. You and me at 170!
In an interview with TMX, he said, if Conor returns anytime soon, I think me and Conor would make some fireworks, and it's a fight that fans want to witness. Finally, if a fight ever happens, who will win? McGregor versus Chandler betting odds. The rumors caused quite a rumble, to the point that BetOnline.ag's odds makers have even published the betting odds for it. According to them, considering McGregor's superb MMA record of 22-6-0, he has a 61% chance of winning the rumored battle against Chandler, who has a 23-8-0 record. Of course, that doesn't mean McGregor's definitely going to win the fight, but it definitely sounds like people are going to want to see it one day. Hopefully. And that's a wrap for this video. Do you agree with Matt Brown's point of view? Let us know in the comments below. And if you like this video, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more videos just like this one. See you in the next one.